Hey y'all, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to check out another one of my videos. Today I am so excited to be sitting down and filming this video finally because ever since these palettes arrived in my lap, I have been playing with them, trying to get them reviewed ASAP so that I could sit down and share this review video with you guys. And of course, as you guys saw from the title, thumbnail, and all over social media, I am talking about the new Oden's Eye collection. 3 palettes in this collection, all of them a collaboration with an influencer here on YouTube, and oh my goodness, just so beautiful. In case you haven't seen them or you just saw them on my thumbnail and clicked and haven't looked inside or looked in depth, let's go over them real quick and then we're going to dive into tutorials and review of each of the palettes. I'm going to share with you guys 2 looks with each of the palettes, so a total of 6 looks in this video. Then we're also going to swatch the palette together and then give you guys my overall thoughts, opinions, and review on the palettes and the collections. So yeah, I'm super excited. As you can tell, I've been looking forward to sitting down and filming this, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at each of the palettes. We'll start with the one that I was the most excited for because it's Annette from Annette's Makeup Corner. And if you guys don't know Annette, I don't know how long you've been following me, but I feel like I talk about her all the time, so I was super excited when I saw that she was getting a collaboration with Oden's Eye. But yeah, this is Annette's palette, and it is the Giant Wolves palette, and as you can see, it has a gorgeous wolf. There's Annette. So very cool. I love the wolf, and then when you open it up, it is this dark and gorgeous, very grungy, but still colorful, and all of the shimmers are just so shifty, and just such a fun palette to be able to play with as the colder seasons come, and also to get a very grungy. I feel like this is pretty fall and grunge on my eyes. Next up, we have the Judy palette. This is the Red Dragon. Now, I don't know Judy, but oh my goodness, like look at this cover. Wow, it is so beautiful. She looks absolutely stunning, and then you open up and it's a very kind of like warm tone neutral with a red, but there's also the green in there as well, and this was a very fun palette. It's colorful, it's got the color in there, but still pretty safe in the more, you know, more warm neutral tones. And then last up is the Fancy Face. Now I know her from YouTube, but I'm not friends with her or anything like that, but Fancy Face, she did this, the Hummingbird. Look how beautiful this cover is, look how beautiful she is. But yeah, here is the inside, and this is the most colorful, the most bright colorful, I guess is how you would describe it, but this is a gorgeous palette. This is super pretty. My eyes latched onto this one right away. This green, you guys know I love that kind of green, so I was super excited for this one, and I had a lot of fun with this palette as well. I mean, all of them I had a ton of fun with, but still, I just love all the color and all the potential with this palette. So yeah, 3 palettes in total. We have the Red Dragon, the Giant Wolves, and the Hummingbird. I do want to say something really quick here before we go any farther, and this is really has to do with me personally, but the palettes themselves, that sound sends like shivers down my spine. I really don't like it. They don't have like a soft velvety feel like I feel like a lot of palettes have. They have a very textured aspect to it that I don't mind touching it like this, but having to put them together, if you're someone who's sensitive to sounds and stuff, I just want to throw that out there just so you are aware of it, because that's something I personally wouldn't mind like knowing before I purchase a palette or I get a palette, because that sound right there just like nails on the chalkboard for me. But okay, at this point we can go ahead and get in this tutorial. As I said, I did 2 looks with each of the palettes, and if you're new to my videos, when I do this tutorial, I try to give you guys a review of each of the eyeshadows I'm using as I use it, so you can get a kind of more of an in-depth feel for the palette as a whole. I did not use every single one of the eyeshadows in the 2 looks that I'm going to feature, but I tried to use as many as I could. So let's go ahead and get into the tutorials. Alright, we're going to be starting with the Red Dragon palette, and I'm going right into that shade Dragon, the red one, going in bold, and I'm placing this right into my crease and just taking some time to really blend it out and get a nice soft, which can take a little time with it being red, but as you can see, like the color impact of this shade is just absolutely stunning. Had no issues blending it out. Then I'm taking that darkest shade there, a fire, it's like a red-brown type of shadow, and I'm taking a very tiny pencil brush, and I am kind of drawing on my wing with liner. That's something you're going to see me do a lot in these tutorials. Is I just got in the mood this past week to create a wing liner with shadow. It's another way to use a shadow and just to see how it pops, and also it's a nice break from liquid liners. I don't know, I've just been enjoying it. So anyway, I'm placing that down really nice and intense and deep. This little brush from What's Up Beauty is perfect for that technique because it's very tiny and precise. And then I'm just taking that shade Yin, and I'm placing this right in my outer corner. I wanted to pick a shade that had some depth but not too much to, you know, kind of overshadow the wing. So I'm packing that onto my outer corner and just taking some time to mesh and blend all of the shadows together. And then once I like the blend, I'm just taking a little bit of the NYX glitter primer and I'm placing that on. I forget if I show it in every tutorial, but that's basically what I use every single time before I put on these shimmers, because they're very sparkly, they're a little bit sheer, so I feel like having a very tacky base really helps the shadow adhere, lessens the amount of like sparkle fallout, and just lessens the amount of time I have to sit there and build the shadow up. But anyway, moving on to that shimmer amber, I'm placing that on. As you can see, it's a little bit sheer, but I'm going to take some time building it on and just using a very flat brush to press it on there to make sure I get the most pop that I can from that shadow, and it goes on really nice, has a lot of intense sparkle. Going into Solar Flare, I'm placing this on, and this has a ton of pigment to it, like a lot of intensity to the shadow, a lot of color to it, and this is a shadow that's also very soft, so you don't have to pick up too much, and it goes on super easy, very impactful as you can see, very blinding. It's got a very intense metallic shift to it, but it's still very like sparkly and whatnot, so it's absolutely beautiful. One of my favorite shadows in this palette for sure. But then I'm just going to complete my face and then come back. Do you guys like those transitions? I don't know if I'll do them in any more tutorials, but I tend to do those for Instagram. But anyway, moving on, just taking that really dark brown there, and I'm putting that right against my lower lash line, and then using the lighter one to buff and blend it out. These two work beautifully together, had no issues. You know, it's only a small area, so not super easy to tell. But then I'm just putting on an inner corner highlight to really give it some shine, and that shade, as you can see, I use a little sponge tip applicator, and boy is it shiny, is it intense. But anyway, that is the completed look. I really like how this look turned out. It's very fiery red, but it still has those neutral tones in it to kind of, you know, tone it down, but it still has the just the intensity of that shimmer on the inner half. Really, it's just so much more intense and sparkly in person. I'm always disappointed that it doesn't come across better in my videos, but overall, very happy with this. The wear time for the mattes are absolutely amazing, and the shimmers are really good as well. Just a tiny bit of creasing on my more hooded eye. All right, look 2 with the Red Dragon palette. I'm going into that green. You guys knew I had to use the green jade, and I'm placing that in. This shadow looks really light when you look at the pan, but as you can see, it has a lot of intensity and pigment to it, and then as you blend, the more you put on, I also felt like I got a nice amount of depth to it as well, and I don't know if you'll be able to really see it well on camera, but I was super happy with that shadow. But anyway, moving on to get a little bit more deep, I went ahead and took that shade, the brown, and I'm putting that right into my crease, and they blended beautifully. I did a lot of blending off screen just to save some time, but the two, as you can see, I feel like that's a really nice blend. Using a bit of that glitter primer from NBA Cosmetics, I'm using that to clean off my lid from any shadow, and then also to prime it for taking the shimmer because it dries tacky. And then I am just going to pop on that shadow. This is that like multi-chrome Luna shadow that is just, oh my goodness, so very beautiful. I'm putting this over the majority of my lid, but then for the inner half, I did take Solar Flare and I'm packing that on the inner half just because it's so beautiful. I couldn't resist, and something with a multi-chrome is I like my inner corner to be very vibrant, and with a multi-chrome, when it goes inward like that, it looks darker in my opinion, or just looks different. So I wanted it to be very vibrant and bright, so that's why I'm putting that just a little bit on my inner corner. Then moving to my lower lash line, once again, just taking that darker shadow right against my lower lash line and buffing it out with the lighter one. These two blended so nicely together. Very happy with the blend. The mattes in this palette are just absolutely amazing. So very impressed. I love how Oden's Eyes mattes blend. But anyway, as you're seeing really quick on screen, I'm going to do some graphic liner around at the full cut crease. I really like that look, and just, I don't know, I've really been enjoying doing that on occasion. But anyway, moving on to my inner corner, popping that on once again, very vibrant, very beautiful, and that is going to be the completed look. I really enjoy how this look turned out. I like having that inner corner brightness before the multi-chrome. I don't think you'll be able to see the multi-chrome shift here in person, but later in the video, I'm going to show you guys in real lighting to hopefully help you guys capture it. But even as it is, even if it didn't shift, that's still a beautiful shadow, and the mattes in this palette, the mattes in this look, they both blended so nice together. Okay, it's time for the Giant Wolves palette, and we are diving right into the black. As you can see, as I said, I really was in a kick this past week to put on wing liner with shadow, so I'm doing that with the black, and oh my goodness, the intensity of this is outstanding. Like, look how black, look how inky black it is. It adheres no problem to eyeshadow, and I was happy to see that blending it with other shadows, as you're gonna see me do here in a minute. There was no patching issues, there was no even fading. Like, I feel like I didn't really have to touch up the line at the end of the look at all, because it still stayed really nice and sharp and crisp, and I love a good black, and this is definitely, like, I feel like you can't even tell it's eyeshadow at the end of the look. It almost looks like liquid liner. But anyway, moving on, I'm just gonna take that Ablaze shadow, and I'm using it in my crease, as you can see, and this is a gorgeous, this is a very bright and grungy color. It's got a lot of pigment to it. I didn't have to tap into the shadow very much, as you can see, and it is not only going on very bright and beautifully, but also blending out like almost effortlessly. I feel like the blend on that just looks so very nice, even though it's just one shadow, one color. color. I was very impressed with this shadow, and all of Oden's Eyes mattes are just amazing, honestly. But anyway, going on to the outer corner, packing this in and just blending it in. I was trying to be careful to not destroy the line, but as I said, it wasn't too hard to do. And then I'm working on bringing this into the crease and just blend it into that shadow I already have. Again, mattes, they blend so effortlessly. They blend so well together. Very, very happy with the blend. And after putting on a little bit of glitter primer, I'm just going to go into my shimmers, which I took that shimmer Eternal and I'm placing that all over my crease. This is a multi-chrome. It looks pink here, but actually if you look at it on this side, it actually looks very blue. So I'm curious to see when I use it with blue and black, if it, you know, stands out to be more blue than it does here with the pinks and purples. It's looking very more pinky. Anyway, regardless, a beautiful shadow, goes on really nicely. But once that's done, I'm just going to do a little bit of touch-up work, blending, you know, the outer corner into the shimmer like I like to do, and then make sure that the wing, it looks nice and is nice and sharp. And then once that's done, with my lower lash line, per usual, I'm just blending the darker shade right against my lower lash line and using the lighter one to buff and blend it out. And I was very happy again with the blend. I feel like I'm just going to be a broken record when I tell you guys that the mattes in all three of these palettes are amazing. So anyway, after that, I'm going to just move on and put on my inner corner, and that's going to be that really white shadow there. Oh my goodness, so very beautiful. Takes almost no work to like pop it in there, and it's just so sparkly, so intense. A beautiful inner corner highlight. Absolutely love it. And yeah, that's going to be pretty much the look. It's very pink and purple, which is different for me, but I absolutely love this look. I did not want to take it off. I can tell you that for sure. It was so beautiful and wore very nice too. Again, absolutely no changes with the mattes in these looks at all, and just the teeniest amount of creasing on my hooded eye with all the shimmers in the palettes that I'm going to talk about today. But there is a little bit of breakdown for me on my oily eyelids throughout the day. All right, second look with the Giant Wolf palette. This is the look in my intro. I'm going to be taking that green. I'm going grungy here. Taking that green and putting it on the inner half. Not going too far over, but keeping it right there in the middle. And as you can see, this shadow goes on the eyes a lot deeper than it looks in the pan. So something to note with that. I wasn't mad at it at all, not saying that, but just wanted to throw that out there. And then that next shade also is very deep and beautiful and rich. And as you can see, like, look how intense it is. Not going to lie, I was a little scared of like, is this going to blend out? But just using those two colors in my crease, you can see the blend I got. I was really happy with the blend. Then taking that green, I'm just coming down a little bit because I'm gonna do like Annette's signature wing with eyeshadow here, and I wanted to make sure I had a nice kind of halo around the wing with the green, so that's what I'm doing here, just a little bit. And then once that's down, I'm going on with the black and really trying to do Annette style. I don't know if I did it justice with her big wings, how she does it with her hooded eyes. It always looks gorgeous on her, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a stab. But anyway, it was just something fun I wanted to try, and I just wanted to use this black again because I was really impressed with it the first time. Then for my lid shade, I'm taking that white shade Astral, and I'm putting that kind of cutting my crease at the top. I'm gonna just keep this very close to the top and put something else on my lid. Again, the sparkle in the shadow is so beautiful. The camera, the video does not do it justice, but it goes on really nice. It has a nice amount of pigment for a white. And then once that's how I wanted it, I went ahead and took that Solar Flare, and I'm packing that on the rest of it. And this shadow has a lot of pigment to it, a lot of intensity. It's a little bit of a softer shadow than some of them. But anyway, going on, I took that darkest green and I used that to kind of blend the green shimmer into the black, and it took like 2 tries and boom, it was blended in. I was very happy with it. And then just popping on my inner corner per usual, and this shadow also absolutely beautiful. I think it's, you know, I was just trying to use something different to try more shadows in here, but it shows up really beautifully, no issues there, and it has such a beautiful sparkle to it. And then finishing my lower lash line, I'm just taking that purple and running it right against my lower lash line there to really smoke it out, and then taking the lighter one to diffuse it. I just thought it'd be fun to have a little bit of something different on the bottom with, you know, green on top and then a more purple on the bottom, and I really liked how the two blended together. Again, so very easy to blend these mattes, no issues whatsoever, and that was the completed look. Definitely one of my favorites because I love the grungy green in it. I love the shimmers that I used in this look. Both of them are probably my favorites from this palette, I think. I don't know, there's so many beautiful ones, it's hard to pick a favorite, but wear time on this was exceptional, had no issues except for the maybe mild creasing. And again, it's like so little that some days I wasn't even sure if I saw any creasing. All right, last palette, the Hummingbird. We are going right in with that red there. It's a bold shade. It's like a, I don't even know if I would call it a red. It's hibiscus. We'll just call it a hibiscus shade because it's not like a bold, like true red. It's got a lot of hot pink watermelon to it. Regardless of what it is, I'm putting that on my inner corner. And as you can see, this is very, very bold. I should say right here that I noticed mild staining with this eyeshadow palette, but it was mostly when I swatched it on my arm. But when I took it off at the end of the day, I didn't notice a whole lot, like maybe a shadow of a stain, but nothing significant for me to honestly care about. But anyway, moving on, I'm taking that shade and I'm kind of winging it out once again. I was just trying different type of winged out looks with these palettes. But anyway, I'm just taking some time to blend all these together. The blue is very vibrant, very pigmented, no problems at all with that. And I was very careful in trying to blend these together. I'm just putting a touch more of the red because I decided on what I wanted to do with this look afterwards, but I'm just bringing the red out there. But both the red and the blue were really nice to work with, very pigmented. And I'm just taking a touch of that purple and I'm cutting it into the crease to create a really heavy shadow. Maybe not the best color choice to do, but I just wanted to try it. So I'm putting that into my crease and then spending a good amount of time blending that into the pink. And while it did take a little bit of time, mostly due to my color choice placement, I still think that the blend with all three of these was very, very nice, at least for me and my skill level. I was really happy with the end result of the blending of all three of these shadows. Then I just popped on some glitter primer and going into the shimmers, which I took that feather shade, the green. Oh, I was so excited to try this green. It was such a beautiful shade. It's a very pigmented color too. While it has a nice amount of sparkle and sheen and shine to it, it also is a nice pigmented shadow. So I was really happy about that. And then once that was on, I wanted to go on with another shimmer and I took that shade Tropics and I put that into like on the main area of my lid. Again, another very pigmented shimmer, goes on no problem. It has a nice amount of sparkle and pigment to it. Very, very lovely. And then the last shadow I wanted to try was just a touch of Blue Shield. And this one is just used to kind of blend the shimmer with the matte because it is almost the same color as the matte blue. So I just thought it'd be the perfect kind of segue to get a really effortless blend. And I definitely feel like I got it with this look using all three of them. But anyway, once all that was blended together, finished out my face and I moved to my lower lash line and I'm just blending this in per usual with a tiny little pencil brush and then using a bigger brush to buff it out. I need to do better on picking my head up so you guys can actually see the blend because I feel like I'm always covering it, but the blend between these two shadows was really nice. Had no issues blending it out and diffusing it. And then it's just the inner corner. I'm popping it on there. And as you can see, I feel like the inner corners on all of these looks just pop so much. They're so sparkly, so intense. And yeah, that is going to be the finished look. Very, very pretty. I love the shimmers. They have so much color intensity to them, yet they're still super sparkly like the Oden's Eye formula. And yeah, definitely some of my favorite shimmers that I think Oden's Eye's ever done. They're so very vibrant and beautiful. Okay, we're on the last look. I can't believe it, but I'm taking that shade Clear Blue and I'm placing that on my inner corner. I was a little concerned about this shade because it's so very light, but as you can see, while it's definitely a very light pastel blue, sky blue, you do see it. It's pigmented, even though it looks so light. It's just the color's very light. But anyway, moving on from that, I'm just placing this on the outer corner and packing it on, creating a little bit of a winged out look again with this one. And as you can see, the purple is really nice, taking a little bit more of that blue, and I'm just gonna go back and forth with the blue and purple, and I'm just working at blending these two together to create a little bit of a diffuse between them. So I'm just spending a little bit of time to kind of diffuse the two together, but not to completely diffuse them. I wanted it to look still winged out, but softer, not too harsh of a line, basically. Anyway, putting on some glitter glue, I am going in with that shade Fancy, and I am popping this on the lid, and oh my goodness, this shade is beautiful. It's a little bit of a sheerer shade, or it's just like a thinner formula. It feels like a Super Shock shadow when I touch it, so it just takes a little bit of work to pick up on a brush or on a finger and get it to adhere, but it is well worth the extra effort to place that on and pack it on because look at the shine, like look at the color. And this is a multi-chrome, so going out to different lighting, you're going to see, you know, different colors kind of come through depending on what lighting you're in. I'll show more of that later in this video, but anyway, moving on, I'm just taking a touch of that purple and kind of meshing and blending the shimmer to the matte before moving down to my lower lash line, and once again doing my usual MO of placing a really dark shade right at my lower lash line and then taking a bigger fluffier brush with a lighter tone and blending it out. I feel very boring.
And then I'm just going to finish out with my inner corner. Their lighter shadows that I use for inner corners are so very beautiful. There's so much sparkle to them, and especially if you use like a doe foot applicator, they really do shine and stand out and just pop so much in a look. I really do like them. And that is going to be the finished look. This is the last look that I'm doing. You'll have to let me know what you think. I really liked how this turned out. It was a very different type of look for me, being so pastel in the crease and so dark on the outer corner. But still, as you're seeing in the close-ups, I feel like the blend was really nice. So anyway, yeah, that is the final look.
Alright, so those are all the tutorials that I did using this collection, the Red Dragon, the Giant Wolves, and the Hummingbird palettes. All so beautiful. You have to tell me which one stood out to you the most, or which palette stands out to you the most as you're the most intrigued to get from the tutorials that I showed you, or are you going to be getting the whole collection? I'd love to know all that. But for me personally, I don't know, each of them had something special to it that I really did like, although I will say this look, I really am enjoying it. I mean, of course, it could just be because I have it on, but regardless, all of the looks, each and every look that I did with this palette, which is a total of 6 so far at the time of me filming this, I have really, really enjoyed and loved and not wanted to take off. Like, that's how much I've enjoyed it. So yeah, this time let's go ahead and segue into the swatching for this palette. And I'm going to do, each palette one at a time on my arm. I'd like to get it nice and close so you guys can really see the palette, see the texture of the shadows, and see me swatch it really up close. So I'm going to put that over the screen as I talk a little bit about each of the color stories, but we're going to dive into the Red Dragon first. This is with the influencer Judy, and oh my goodness, like, isn't that just the most gorgeous palette? I mean, all of them are very stunning. I will say Oden's Eye does the package presentation so very well. And then moving over to Color Story, like I said, this is more so for someone who really enjoys those neutrals or those warm tone type of neutrals. But overall, even though I'm not super into that, the looks that I've done with this palette, I have really, really enjoyed. And I even forgot I did a look before I recorded for this video today. So I've done 3 looks with this palette specifically, but all 3 looks were really easy to get, very beautiful to wear, and the shimmers in this palette are just outstanding. Luna is the one that has that duochrome aspect to it when you apply it to your lid, and it is just so, so beautiful. I do feel like out of the shimmers, I feel like Solar Flare and Luna and Overheat and Amber, the 2 pinks and the 2 like green gold there, they're very close. So I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more separation between them. The mattes, I really do enjoy the feel and the way they perform on the lid. I'm always very impressed. They feel very nice. They're not super duper thin. They have a nice amount of density to the shadow itself, and they're just incredibly pigmented. It just takes so very little work to put these on your eyelids. So now let's go ahead and dive into Giant Wolves, which is Annette's palette. This palette, oh my goodness, the presentation with the wolf above Annette with her purple hair is just, oh my goodness, with the red lip. Everything about this palette is very striking. Opening up, the color story kind of surprised me initially because when I saw it, especially in the promo pictures, it just looked very dark and neutral, but seeing it in person definitely does, lend itself more to color than I initially thought at the beginning. It definitely has a good amount of very dark colors, so if you're someone who's not super into those dark colors, you probably aren't going to be steering for this palette, but I do enjoy a really dark look, especially a dark color on the outer corner, so I was really excited to get into this. Her shimmers were really pretty, of course. The shimmers across the board all have an intense sparkliness to them. The pigmentation in the shimmers themselves for all 3 palettes is a little bit thin because it lends more to being a very like glittery type of formula. However, I do find that I can build it up pretty effortlessly. I think Eternal, that shade in the bottom, is just completely outstanding. It just blew my mind how beautiful it was. It's just this gorgeous, very unique multi-chrome shadow that is like a green, blue, but gold and silver. There's just... it's absolutely gorgeous. Like, when I had these on my eyes, I kept kind of like turning in the light in the mirror trying to get a video of it. But anyway, overall, the Giant Wolves palette is just so very beautiful. Very, very impressed. And then last step for the 3 palettes is Hummingbird. This is the Fancy Faces collab with Oden's Eye, and the Hummingbirds is just, oh my goodness. Again, the cover is so beautiful. They did the covers for all 3 of these palettes so very well. Moving on into the palette, this one has the most shimmers out of all 3 of them, but I do appreciate that the shimmers themselves are very colorful. They're not just a bunch of neutral shimmers, so I really like that about it. They have a nice green, a nice orange, that more blue minty color there. They do have a neutral brownish shade, and then 2 purples with that blue. It's a nice array of colorful shimmers. Both looks that I created with this palette were just absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful. I really, really did like it and enjoy it. The mattes, again, the mattes always just feel so nice, and they're so intensely pigmented. It takes like no work to use, no work to build up, no work to blend into each other, and the shimmers are stunning. I will say that the shimmers in this palette I feel like have the most intense pigment to them. I mean, they still have sparkle like all the other palettes, but there's a lot of pigment behind like the green and the orange, and I appreciate that because it doesn't take a whole lot of work to apply and build it up. And then also the multichrome in here, it's more of a like a white multichrome, so I really don't know if you'll be able to see it in person, but that shade of Fancy is so beautiful. It's like a white, gold, green, but it's very strong in the purple. I don't know. I can't describe it. It's just gorgeous. I'll leave it at that. It's just absolutely gorgeous. She did so well with the color story, with the color selection, and then with the shimmers, the colors she chose for the shimmers, everything about it I think is just absolutely beautiful. So overall, all three palettes, I was really impressed with the color story, with the quality of the mattes, with the quality of the shimmer, the choices for the multi-chromes, that special shadow in there. I think all around, each and every one of them did a fantastic job with their palettes. So at this point, now that we have done the swatches and I've shared all the tutorials and I've given you guys pretty much my review, I'm just gonna kind of give overall my thoughts and opinions. As I already said, I did try to get some video footage of me when I was wearing the multi-chromes. Now, full disclaimer, I am not an expert when it comes to showing multi-chrome shadows. I often struggle with telling what a multi-chrome is and trying to describe it because I'm just terrible at it. If you're wanting an expert when it comes to multi-chromes, I am sure Bad to the Brow Millie is going to have a video on these, and I would definitely highly encourage you to go over to hers because I'm sure her footage is going to be a whole lot better than mine. But I did try on my phone to take some videos, so I will insert it here if it's any good. I think it's decent enough for you guys to be able to see the multi-chrome shift to it. And if I use any other shadows within the look, I'll try to put it on screen so you know if any other shadows are coming into play, because one of the looks, I know I didn't just use the multi-chrome, I had another one in there. But anyway, at least you guys can see a little bit of a shift. And I'm in like a sunny room that doesn't get direct sunlight, but it's very well lit, and I'm kind of like going in and out of shadow to try to show you guys the shift, and also moving around, feeling like a maniac in my sunroom. But I was trying to get a good clip of it to show you guys what the multi-chrome finishes look like because they are absolutely beautiful. The shimmers in all three of these palettes are just so very stunning. I was super impressed with them, and even though I'm someone who I prefer more pigment than shimmer or the like sparkle when it comes to my shimmers, there's still something special about this. So yeah, now that that's all said, I think that's gonna do it for today's video. Again, a big shout out, a big congratulations to all three ladies, Annette, Judy, and Tina. Super excited for them to get this opportunity. They did a fantastic job, and if you are at all interested in trying Oden's Eye and you haven't yet, I feel like this would be a great option to go for because the palettes are just so very special, so very beautiful. Each one's unique and different, so I feel like one of them will cater to you even if you like more neutral, you like more deep, you like super colorful. There's something for everyone there, and you might know the influencer as well, which might be even more special to own if you are at all interested in that sort of thing. I enjoy it. I think it's fun to be able to have. So yeah, that is going to do it for me. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I really do appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I hope it was helpful and informative and just helped you in deciding if you need this palette or not. If you are not someone who like needs to get it right away, I would definitely, maybe reach out to the brand and ask them how long this is going to be sticking around for, and if it's going to be here a while, wait till a sale and pick it up then. I'm definitely someone who always wants to advocate for like waiting for a sale, but since these are influencer collabs, I would just say, maybe double check to make sure it's not going to be like gone once it's out of stock and never restocked, because that's information I don't have right now. I'm so sorry. If I do find it out before this video goes live, I'll try to leave it in the description box so you guys can know if it's going to be restocked for like a year before it goes out or if it's just like a one and done thing. So definitely something to keep in mind. But with all that said, that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I hope you guys found it helpful and informative. If you want to continue getting daily content from me, I'm over on Instagram. I'm LadyKD92. And with all that said, that's going to do it for me. See you guys in my next video. Bye.